This video contains flashing lights, heads up. So, the only video released for Car Seat Headrest's Twin Fantasy was for the track Nervous Young Inhumans. The video is bifurcated, with a left frame that tends to run more chaotic than the right, which often features Will dancing alone. Considering this is a remake of an earlier track, we can maybe assume the reading that these are supposed to be two music videos for two very different interpretations of the same song. Inhumans 2011 is a lo-fi rock track, Inhumans 2018 is a sparkling and ultra-compressed pop tune. The left video is disorienting, overstimulating. It's messier and expresses emotion in a much more unfiltered way than the well-groomed Will on the right, re-releasing this packaged version of a song retrospective of a doomed relationship in a way reminiscent of the Something Soon video, but defiant of the awkwardness of the video it's referencing. During the verse, the feeds sync. It's still Will doing the singing, it's still his artistry, it's still earnest. In fact, the lyrics have been reframed, commenting on his improvement since the original album. And then, as the chorus comes in, 2018 Will is bathed in warm light, reminiscent of the chaos from earlier, but tempered, whilst former Will sings to the camera, barely illuminated. Throughout the video, fog and lighting obfuscate Will, reminiscent of his artist persona, obfuscating his real self. The emotion is shrouded by insecurity in the 2011 version and by time in the 2018 version. The feeds sync up in their chaos during the instrumental hook, the emotions are still there, the melody is equally as powerful as it's the lyrics pertaining to the relationship that caused the separation between versions, but only momentarily, as latter Will's crazy dance moves return and Andrew Katz makes an appearance in the 2018 frame. Car Seat Headrest are a band now. Andrew is expressing Will's lyrics here in his voice, in the same way that his drumming is used to sell this really confessional album. Once again for the verse, the feeds sync, the light display is calmed, then both Wills are replaced with the Will in the dark, maybe indicating that Will ultimately does feel like this story is isolating and personal. I don't know, I feel weird speculating about a real person's feelings towards their relationship. For the final chorus, whilst former Will strobes, latter Will returns to the warm palette, raising his arms triumphantly. He's a little better now, after all. So yeah, I think this video is good. I think it's meaningful, I think it's artistically motivated and beautiful, while also being cryptic and unintrusive. It's vibey, its very liberal use of colored lighting and neat costume choice for Will accompany the feeling of the track perfectly. You can maybe draw other conclusions from the material here too. The two feeds could stand in for the opposing viewpoints of a relationship, occasionally syncing but doomed to fall out of sync in dissonant ways. The two feeds draw their cursive in a mirror, as would be viewed by the other. This ties in with Twin Fantasy's image of the mirror as changing for someone in ways that obstruct them seeing you truthfully, exposing yourself to harm. I find myself fixating on the line about showing each other their inhumans. Inhuman can obviously have a negative connotation, the speaker aggrandizing themselves for showing that part of themselves. Alternatively, the speaker's knowledge of the objects inhuman can refer to the rejection of humanity and personhood explored in Beach Life and Death. That is, I know it's there, but I feel more comfortable with this than you do. It's a source of comfort, but a source of reliability. I know what it's like to not show that part of myself to anyone but you. There's a one-sidedness of perspective and a disconnect between the honesty of parties. The speaker cannot perceive the inhuman in the other, but if this is a mirror, the same is true in reverse, and this is sort of what the rambly monologue is about at the end, expressing this one view by this one person. I'm sure there are other reads you can do. Cross your eyes on the videos and the viewpoints merge, as they have been throughout this video, for copyright reasons. You can't tell exactly what's real and what isn't, it just becomes noise. It's chaos and fun in such an overwhelming method of delivery that it becomes disorienting. I love this video. Some people beg to differ though, like Kyle Reed, an indie rock YouTuber that made a video improving the Inhumans video. I've not seen the rest of Kyle's videos. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but I think this video is very off base, and I wanted to talk about it. So, Twin Fantasy is, from me and many of my friends, basically the succinct encapsulation of a generation of alienated queer teens growing up online in the early days of social media. It's a breakup album about being in an unhealthy, queer, long-distance relationship because you find it impossible to confide in anyone offline, and your mental health sucks, so you latch onto people that seem to be like you. But you're young and fucked up, and the connections that you have to form are necessarily driven apart by your conflicting neuroses and a million other factors. It's an album so firmly rooted in its culture and time and aesthetic that I consider Kyle's pitch to turn it into a prom romance just really incurious. Not only does his pitch sound significantly less interesting from a visual standpoint, Nervous Young Inhumans is a song about confiding in another because they seem to be one of the first people in your life that don't hurt you, that are hurting in the same way as you, the euphoria of connection buried in the pain of distance and mental health. Don't get me wrong, this isn't like a heterosexual romance where Kyle's Bill gets the girl at the end. There's some fine ideas here. The dance like nobody's watching image, the hostility of the people that surround you, Jesse running off at the end because they shared a moment that was destined to be fleeting, I get it. But I fail to see what the upside of this is when the sentiment is expressed more comprehensively by the music, and the existing video brings up ideas in a much more abstract and multifaceted and interesting way that allows for multiple interpretations. The vibe of teenage Americana, the whole prom thing, does fit Twin Fantasy, but by moving this romance into a physical setting, you're sort of missing the forest for the trees. You can't swap out parts of art for signifiers that seem arty and expect the product to be equally cohesive. Artistic honesty means making art about experiences that not everybody will relate to, and it's what makes Twin Fantasy so much more special than just a normal breakup album to a lot of the people I know. I can't help but see this as cutting the messy and unrelatable and expressive bits out of a project you supposedly love and replacing it with fucking High School Musical. A 3-act structure doesn't make everything better. Ultimately, I don't want to be rude to Mr. Reed or come down on the idea of making your own music video of a song you like. It's a fun creative exercise and I'm in favor of derivative works, of course. I just don't think that one should consider this an improvement while neglecting to consider the function and context of the work that they're dismissing. That's all I have to say. I like the bit where he imitates Will's yo, though I think that's funny, Kyle Reed. See you next year.